set up your channels. Now, you can imagine this is the easiest part of the whole thing, just having a Twitter handle, setting up a Facebook page, and all those things. But sometimes it happens there are many squatters, that somebody takes up a particular brand name and capture that. So you might face some trouble there. So try to resolve at this part of this phase rather later. Singapore Singtel PR is not a Singtel person, right? So that's a big problem if you have something like that. And that's a very sarcastic guy or girl, I don't know. But so you have some problem if somebody is quoting on your social media profile. Now, why I am talking about content at all in social media? So why I'm talking about establishing content strategy for social media? Remember, I mentioned something that you need to ignite conversation. And to ignite conversation, you need content, right? Content can be YouTube videos of your product demo, or a white paper, or even ebook, or something else. But you need content to generate conversation on social media. Apart from only one case, that is customer service. If you're using social media for customer service, that is different case. But in all other cases, you need content to ignite conversation. So let me just give you a few quick content tips for social media. First thing is, use the language of your buyers and prospects, not your language. You might have IDRM, some weird acronyms within the company, and that's very famous. When it goes outside the company context, they're irrelevant. So use the language of your buyers or prospects and avoid gobbledygook terms. Now, these are next generation, paradigm shifting, and innovative and stuff like that. Don't use that. These are fake PR terms. I'm sorry if any PR people are here, but unfortunately, you guys get very used to those kind of terms. Please avoid those kind of terms. Continuing that use human language, right? And that's like pretty simple human language you can use. But I don't know why people like to fill up these ebooks and white papers with so much of jargons. So use human language and solve their problem, not to try to sell something. Think about this. If you are selling IP telephony managed services or data center, don't sell that thing that how great your data center is. Rather sell that there are the 10 top things you should do before choosing information as a service architecture. That's useful rather than saying my data center is great, right? So that's nothing intended here. So after that is address when you're writing content, address both sides of the purchase decision making process. One is the emotional side, that is all about stories. So focus on case studies and testimonials and stuff like that. And there is a rational part of our brain too, which works in a purchase decision, that is data, ROI, fact sheet, and on comparison charts. So that's a very big thing there. And analyst companies comes into that picture. They make business out of that. There are some analyst companies here, right? IDC folks, great. So some marketing for you. But so that is very important too. So address both rational and emotional side while you are doing content. Now, after that, you need to set up the metrics. Now, metrics depend on what are the goals you set for yourself in the first place, right? It's all very subjective. You should measure what matters, nothing else. So there are some common things you can measure using any of these social media monitoring tools. So first thing is reach. Very easy, all numbers game. It's number of blog feed subscriber, number of followers in Twitter, fans on Facebook, etc. Second thing is buzz. It's same thing as impression in traditional media. That means how far your message was reached, right? Now, that is basically number of mentions in Twitter, number of conversations in the blog, and page hit analytics. That means how much traffic you generated, web traffic you generated towards your site or other digital assets through social media. Now, third thing, now things start getting complicated a bit. You need to judge sentiment. Now, people might talk a lot about you, but you need to decide these are good stuff or bad stuff. You need to filter through quickly. Now, all the social media monitoring tools provide that sentiment analysis, but you need to remember there is a human element involved here, because machines are judging everything by keywords. You need to still filter through some of the thing by yourself. So sentiment is another big thing. Engagement, that is breadth and depth of conversation, is going on in social media with your clients or prospects. So that's another thing. But most of the time we get stuck at this point, that is conversion. Now, conversion, why I didn't mention that sales, because not always it's a sale, right? Conversion means next step. So it might be for a B2C company is direct sale, but for a B2B company, it might be mailing list subscribing, right? So conversion is the business ROI, and many people stop there, but this is the main place to go into, right? But this is a holy grail too. And if there is any perfect solution, please let me know about that. But it is very subjective too. Now after that, customize your channel. Now this is not a rocket science. Most of the stuff are pretty easy, but please don't put a generic page there in Facebook or generic Twitter avatar, which is default, is an egg now. Don't keep that. That's very unprofessional. Hire someone internally or outsource it to an agency to write up some FBML for Facebook or customize your channels and etc. Now, after that, set up an engagement framework. Now, whenever I mention engagement framework, first thing comes to everyone's mind that we are talking about social media policy, right? But if you look at every social media policy available everywhere, it's mainly talking about what not to do. It's not to-do list. It never tells you what to do. So you need to have that what to do list. That is basically what will be the response workflow. If somebody really saying bad things about my products and services, what should I do? How should I react? And what should be the escalation process? If somebody asks a question through Twitter handle, hey, what's up in this DNS configuration, and I'm a marketer, I should not know that, right? How should I escalate that to my technical people to get a proper answer? So establish that process in the first place, that how we are going to engage, right? Now, go ahead. We are ready. Now we are starting, by the way. So we go ahead and publish our initial content, start getting our initial list of fans, followers, whatever you call them. Now, second, after that, and this is the place everyone gets stuck. I started something, and how do I cross the chasm of the first phase, right? And there, in our experience, harnessing the informal network, what you have within the company, is very, very important. Because if you look at it, many of your salespeople already connected with your clients in LinkedIn or in Facebook. Harness that. So, for example, for one client of ours, Datacraft, we did that, and that was very, very successful. What we did a newsletter design going out every weekly to every sales representative. And that newsletter had topmost blog post we had in the Datacraft blog, and categorized with the solution, like data center or converged communication. It's categorized like that. So imagine like this: if you are an account manager who is selling converged communication or unified communication, and you receive a blog post with 7 tips for something, you like to share that with your network with your prospects, right, whom you're trying to sell. So that's really important. Harnessing the informal network, publishing it and promoting it internally is as important as promoting it outside. And then you start. That's the starting of the journey. And don't forget, you have to tweak the system, tweak the whole approach whenever required based on the results you're getting. It's never is stagnant. It's every day is a challenge. Now, before I finish, some basic tips. That is, first thing is, social media is a tool. It's a very unique tool which is providing two-way communication, but it's a tool. And that doesn't replace your social media marketing strategy. And I can't emphasize this because this is very hard for marketers to swallow. basically for the traditional marketers. All the time we knew we pay this much, we get this much, right? And suddenly the whole thing is changed. We have to earn it. How can? So that's another big point. And don't let this fear of failure stop you. It's okay to do mistakes in social media if you can own your mistakes. That means if you do any boo-boos, then you can go back and say that that was wrong and this is right. We were wrong in this particular thing and this is the right thing. Sorry about that. People are okay with that, rather being very uptight about whole thing, right? So, and this is another thing. Now, you can be in any social network, social media, whatever. If your posts are lame, if your tweeters are boring, nobody going to do anything about it. So you have to be interesting. And key of being interesting is being interested. Think about that. Take out the media part. Think about social structure. You walk into a party, and if you are someone who can talk about many different stuff, which our people of that party are interested in, then you get some clout. Otherwise, if you just talk about boring things, nobody cares. So how to be interesting? First thing is to know everything what is going on in your domain. So I don't know, anybody use Google Reader here? Anybody? Very few. So anyway, so use Google Reader, subscribe to the blogs of your domains, what people are writing, so and what your competitors are doing. So use that to, okay, this is mine and this might be too much for you. There are more than 300 feeds. So don't do that overdoing things. I'm a geek. So forget about that, but have some selected at least 10 to 20 blog you subscribe to or sites you subscribe to and know the stuff which is going on. Keep yourself up to date. And how to know where those, it's a very good point to start, is alltop.com, where you can go through the category of your particular domain. If you're in real estate, you can go to the real estate. If you're in from the high tech, and you can go to that and even pin down to the particular solution set and subscribe to those blogs which are in Alltop, right? And don't forget, it's about being social, right? And all the social norms are applicable here. If somebody sends you a Twitter query, you should be you should put a response to that as soon as possible and put yourself in that workflow, right? I have to give 4 hours before I get back to them or something like that. But it's all about being social, so all the social norms are applicable here. And that'll be all. So I'm not going to take any questions unless you have any burning questions right now. But otherwise, what I'll do that I'll hand over to Benjamin, and after his talk, both of us will take the Q&A together. Is that okay? Yeah? Great. Thank you.